So as you can see here, we have the map, and this is my ballpark prediction. As you can see, Donald Trump is for sure going to get 125 electoral votes, and Joe Biden is for sure going to get 212 electoral votes. So this is what they are at least going to get. Um, I would be amazed if either candidate got less than this total, because these are the safe states for them. These are the states that are their freebies. So these states, you don't even have to worry about them. They're all going to be called the moment the polls close in these states. Um, these are going to be called for both candidates. All these states here. So for sure, Donald Trump has 125 electoral votes, and for sure, Joe Biden has 212 electoral votes. Now, what I'm gonna do is say who I think is going to win the gray states based off of what history tells us, based off of what polling is telling us, and based off of what I feel, based on what I've seen personally. And this is not going to be a definitive prediction, but I feel this is what we're going to be in the ballpark of on election night. Possible that I'm wrong. I have a confidence interval as well. We'll get to that later. But this is what I feel we're in for. So I want to start off with swing states, and I want to go based off states that I feel will be easiest to predict of who will win, to the hardest states to predict who will win. So I want to start off with New Hampshire. New Hampshire is an interesting state in which it was very close in 2016. Like Hillary Clinton barely won it. It was a few thousand votes. It wasn't even called the night of, and they went back and forth. Is that going to happen again? I think it could, nothing's off the table. Never say never to anything. But polling is showing Joe Biden ahead very comfortably in New Hampshire. So I think that this state is going to go to Joe Biden. Um, Furthermore, going forward, what I would probably advise looking to in New Hampshire is I would remember the fact that while I am giving it to Joe Biden, New Hampshire was not a good state for Joe Biden in the primary. In fact, after the New Hampshire primary, many people started to think that Joe Biden might have to drop out because of how poorly he's doing. It was very early on, but many thought that Joe Biden's campaign was dead after that. He came in fifth place. He did worse than Amy Klobuchar and Elizabeth Warren did in that primary. So is it possible it carries over to the general? We'll see. Very rarely does that happen, I should note. Very rarely do primary bruises carry over to the general. General elections are different than primaries, but Joe Biden does have an enthusiasm issue. It could show up, it might not. Um, but moving on further, the next state I want to predict, Nevada. I think Joe Biden is going to win Nevada. This is another state that was close in 2016. I don't think it's going to be close in 2020. Um, the polls show that Joe Biden is ahead very comfortably in Nevada. Can Donald Trump win it? I think there's an outside chance, but I really would be shocked to see Donald Trump pull it off in Nevada. I barely see it as a possibility. Um, so yeah. Um, Going forward, Minnesota. Minnesota is a state that Donald Trump really, really, really thinks he can flip. He's been campaigning there. He wants to be the first Republican since the 70s to flip Minnesota. Is he going to do it? I don't think he's going to do it. I just think it's too complicated. He's down too much. He's not down that much. He's down a few points, like 5 or 6, but it's too much for to see him make a victory in Minnesota. I mean, normally if you're down 5, 6 points in the polls, um, most of the time, in many universes you lose. Is there a chance Trump could do it? Outside chance? Yeah, it's possible, but I would be thoroughly shocked to see Donald Trump win Minnesota. You start to notice Joe Biden is getting very close to 270 um, on this map. Will he reach it? We'll see. I want to take a break from being up here. I want to go down into the Sun Belt, basically. So I want to predict Georgia. Georgia is a really close state. It is remarkably close. Joe Biden has done very well there recently, but he doesn't have that strong ground game in Georgia. And it does have Republican DNA in it, along with the fact that there's voter suppression. So I think that Donald Trump is going to narrowly take Georgia. Let me actually hold on. Donald Trump is going to narrowly take Georgia. I think it would be tilting in his favor, I feel. But I do think Donald Trump is going to take Georgia. I would be shocked if he did not. Well, I wouldn't be shocked, but I'd be interested because I do think he's a silent favorite in Georgia. There's some polling showing Biden is the favorite, like a small favorite. I just don't see it happening. I think Donald Trump will hold on to Georgia. But moving on, we have North Carolina. This is another state where Joe Biden is doing fairly well, but voter suppression is a thing in North Carolina as well. And Donald Trump won it in 2016. And polling is really close to the part where I do think Donald Trump is probably going to edge it out in North Carolina. I could be wrong on this one. I'm not that certain, but I do think that logic and polls shows us that Donald Trump definitely can take North Carolina, and I think that he will take North Carolina. I think he'll very narrowly take it though, which brings them to 156. I want to go to Florida now. Florida is a state where I am not that certain about anything. There's a lot of contradictions. Demographics will be a giant part here, but not in the way it was in 2016. Donald Trump has actually been doing interestingly well among Hispanics. But while he's been gaining with Hispanic voters and a little bit among black voters, um, he's losing white women and he's losing seniors by a considerable amount. So it is going to be a really close state, but I do think that Donald Trump will barely edge out Florida. So I do think we're going to see him win Florida. Um, which look at that, it starts to bring him back, but Joe Biden is still very close to 270. So we trottle along. Now I want to go to Ohio. Ohio is closer than it was in 2016, but polling shows Trump in the lead. He won it by about 8 points, something around 7 or 8 points in 2016, by a decent amount in 2016. He has a lot of ground to lose. He's in the lead in the polling. I don't think he'll win it by as much as he won back then, but I do think he's going to win it. So Ohio goes to Donald Trump, and I think I would tilt it in his favor. Um, Iowa. Iowa is closer than Ohio, and Trump won Iowa by like 10 points in 2016. So it's not good that Donald Trump is really close to Joe Biden, but I do think he's going to edge it out in Iowa because I do think there is a more conservative electorate there. Though of course I could definitely be wrong about that, but I would be this is the one where I would be shocked to see Joe Biden pull it off because it would Donald Trump would just be having to do really bad with white women voters, and I don't think he's doing that bad. I could be wrong, but we'll see. I want to now go to Nebraska's second district. I think that Joe Biden is going to win. Obama won it in 2008 against John McCain, and I think that Joe Biden is going to do what Obama did and win it. So, Donald Trump will lose. He won that in 2016, but he'll lose this district. Polling shows Joe Biden's doing decently well there. I have no reason to believe he won't pick it up. I haven't seen polling that shows Trump winning it. All right. Before we go to the Rust Belt, I want to go to Texas. Texas is a Republican state. I want to just say that because if you only started paying attention to politics and been looking at polling in this election, you would probably be shocked to hear that because Texas is a Republican state. But Donald Trump is not doing well in Texas. Joe Biden is really doing a good job in Texas. He's really close. He's in striking distance. Is he going to get Texas? I don't think Joe Biden is going to win Texas, but I want to make a clear point, I think that Democrats are definitely doing really well in Texas, and I believe that they probably have a good shot at it in 2024. In fact, I think Democrats will take it in 2024, which is really bad for the Republican Party because if they lose Texas, then their path to 270 is just eviscerated. And they're going to have to figure it out, though. Hispanics have been, trending more to Republicans recently, so maybe that can hold Texas for maybe another election or two. But Democrats have been gaining ground in Texas. Um, if Texas becomes a swing state, that's it. It's over. Um, so let's see what happens in the future. Now, as to Arizona, Arizona is a state where Joe Biden, unlike Texas, this is another Republican state, but Joe Biden is leading. Joe Biden is right there in Arizona. Um, and I think that it is going to be an interesting state to watch. In fact, this is the state to watch. If Donald Trump loses Arizona, um, then the Republican Party really has a lot of thinking to do after this election because this is a state that should not be going at all to the Democrats, but they've been gaining a lot of ground. And I do believe that on Tuesday, Joe Biden is going to barely win. Oh, let me change this. Joe Biden is going to barely win Arizona, and he's going to make it very competitive, and it's going to be something interesting to watch. Now, we have, before I go to these three states, um, Maine's congressional district. Donald Trump won it in 2016. I haven't seen polling, but I feel like he's going to lose it in 2020. I think that his appeal among suburban women voters was going to hurt him. Well, not well, suburban white women, I mean. Though suburban women are also turning on Trump. As a whole, he's been losing a lot of the demographics he won. He's not even doing that well. Well, he's doing good with white men without college degrees, but he's doing like a few points less. But that's still like a 20-point lead, so I don't really focus on it that much. Um, because he's still going to win it. It's probably not going to be noticeable whatever he loses, but what we are going to see is his we're going to see him suffer with suburban women and white women and stuff like that. So I think this is what's going to cost him this district. And just, many seniors probably live here, so that's just gone. Um, and of course, Joe Biden is doing fairly well in these areas that Trump won. He's not as hated as Hillary was, so that's a plus to Biden's favor. So now we head into the three states that narrowly gave Donald Trump the victory in 2016. If Donald Trump can win two of these states, let's say Joe Biden gets Wisconsin but loses this, all Donald Trump needs to do what he did in 2016 again is win two of these states. And that's if, if if all of this holds for him. All he needs to do, and maybe he can get Arizona back, and if he can get Arizona back, if he can narrowly take Arizona, then he would just have to take either Michigan or Pennsylvania. That's all he needs to do. If he can do all of this, he can get himself a second term. If he can, but I'm gonna assume that he's losing Arizona. So if he can do all of this, he needs to take two of these states which gave him the victory in 2016. If he does that, he gets 4 more years. So let's see, does he do it? I'm gonna start with Wisconsin. Wisconsin, at the beginning of this election, when it became Trump versus Biden, this was the state that Democrats thought there was no chance. Well, not that there was no chance, but they thought it was going to be the hardest, and it was basically going to go to Trump. They thought, yeah, Wisconsin is just going to Trump. I thought that Wisconsin was going to go to Trump as well. Wisconsin seemed like the state um, that everyone believed would go to Trump if if only one of these three states went to him. But that's different now. Now Wisconsin seems like the state least likely to go to Trump, and I think that he's going to lose Wisconsin. A poll came out a few days ago. Joe Biden has a 17-point lead in Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin is going to go to Biden, and it's going to go to Biden very decently. Um, so Wisconsin is Joe Biden's. Um, so now we have two states left. Donald Trump needs both of these states. Um, so let's go over to Michigan. Michigan is the state I used to think was the least least likely where it was gone and it was Joe Biden's. I don't know what's gonna happen, but it looks too far gone for Donald Trump to win. He's not down 17 points in a poll there, but he's down considerably in Michigan. Same with Wisconsin. There's other polls in Wisconsin that aren't 17, but it's down considerably. Michigan, Biden is up significantly. Trump is down significantly. I also think his suburban appeal is fading, and that is a problem. Now, of course, Michigan is the state where it is the state where people are mad at the Obama administration, where they were mad at him for what happened in Flint. So maybe, I mean, you never know, but I just think Joe Biden is going to take Michigan. I think he's going to take Michigan, which, look what it does. It puts him above 270, which is what he needs to be elected president. So I think Joe Biden is going to be the next president of the United States because he's going to win back Wisconsin and Michigan. But does Donald Trump even win one of these states? Pennsylvania is not like Michigan and Wisconsin. Donald Trump is in striking distance. It is a race in Pennsylvania. Um, but Donald Trump is still down in Pennsylvania by 5 or 6 points. And again, if you're down like 5 or 6 points, sure, you can come back, but I'm not going to I'm not going to definitively predict that you can win when you're down 5 or 6 points. I'm going to assume that you are an underdog. And for that reason, I would say that Donald Trump is narrowly going to lose Pennsylvania, which is going to make, in my prediction, the election a ballpark. Joe Biden wins it with 291 electoral votes, and Donald Trump loses it, getting 247 electoral votes. And this is what the map I think is going to look like. But of course, I want to tell you guys, this is not a definitive prediction. I just think this is the ballpark of what we're looking at. And 247 to 291 means it's still a race, especially in Pennsylvania. I mean, Donald Trump could definitely he could still win Arizona. He could maybe catch up if he can take these two states. Look, if he can take these two states, he wins the election. So is the election over for Trump? He has a very low chance of being reelected, but it's still a race. I think it's still a race. I think it is definitely still a race. I think he can definitely still come back, but he is in serious trouble, and that's the problem for the president. And when you're an incumbent president, you don't want to be the underdog because the election is typically a referendum on you. It doesn't speak good volumes when you're down. But I will say this, demographics play a major role. There's a lot of suburban women in Pennsylvania that could hurt Trump. But at the same token, there's a lot of black voters in Pennsylvania. Joe Biden, he was doing worse at the beginning of the general election season with black voters than he is now. He's in the 80s now, I think. He used to be in the 70s, sometimes 60s. But maybe they don't turn out as much for Biden. It makes up for whatever Trump lost, and he narrowly takes Pennsylvania. Biden also has a Hispanic voter problem. This could hurt him in Arizona, could keep Texas even stronger for Trump, could give Trump some reinforcement in these states. Maybe it gives Nevada to Trump. We'll see. I doubt Trump is going to win Nevada, but maybe. Who knows? Nevada is one of the. I gave it to Biden in this dark blue color. I shouldn't have done that, but I do think that Joe Biden has it has a giant advantage because sure Biden has an advantage, I mean a demographic problem with Hispanics and blacks, but Donald Trump has a demographic problem with seniors and white women. So that's a problem. So it's really it's you really do the math. You we're gonna see it together. I don't know what else to say, but demographics are demographics. Both candidates have weaknesses, both candidates have strengths, and we're gonna see what happens. I think that if Donald Trump wins, it's because if I had to say if Trump will win, Trump takes Arizona and he takes Pennsylvania. I don't see him winning these states, but hey, it's still a race. Anything is possible. Um, so we'll see. This is my map prediction.